What if a single decision by the US government could turn the financial world upside down, making Bitcoin skyrocket to $4.6 million a coin? This might sound ludicrous to you, but we're on the edge of a financial revolution that could redefine everything we know about money. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how and why this could happen in your life and what it means for your wallet. Here's a story you probably didn't learn in history class. During the Battle of Long Island, George Washington was on the brink of defeat. His 10,000 troops were cornered by the British, and it seemed like the dream of an independent United States was about to end. But then, something very unexpected happened. A simple shift in the wind stopped the British fleet in their tracks, sparing Washington's army and changing the literal course of history. Just like that pivotal gust of wind, sometimes a single, unexpected event can reshape the future. And right now, we're on the brink of another potential turning point, one that could redefine the financial security for an entire generation. Imagine if the US government decided to hold Bitcoin as part of its reserves. This single move would transform the entire financial landscape, propelling Bitcoin into the reserves of every global nation and altering the value of money as we know it. And in this video, I'm gonna break down how this bold move could impact your financial future and why it might be the most significant shift since the adoption of the US dollar itself. Stick around, because this could be the wind that changes everything for Bitcoin and for all of us. If this already has your head spinning, grab my Money and Crypto Masterclass at the link below. It's 100% free for a limited time because I want to help you get ahead in life. Now, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, because we got the latest insights on global finance, cryptocurrencies, practical investment tips coming your way every single week. Now let's get into it. Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. Some months back, Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis made waves in a bold new proposal, creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States. Her idea? To build up a reserve using Bitcoin that the government has already collected through asset forfeitures. And in an interesting twist, former President Trump quickly backed her proposal at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville that same week. She went on to say that Bitcoin is not just changing the US.
Satoshi Nakamoto in January of 2009.
But it's transforming the entire world. By being the first developed nation to use Bitcoin as a savings technology, she argues the US could solidify its position as a global leader in financial innovation. Lummis compared this moment to the Louisiana Purchase, calling it the opportunity that could lead us to the next financial frontier. With Bitcoin gaining traction on the world stage, the idea of governments holding a strategic reserve of cryptocurrency is sparking heated debates. Could this be a turning point for the US in the global financial system? One decision that could drastically reshape America's future and potentially boost the wealth of its people is if the government decided to invest in Bitcoin.
We will eliminate the United States debt. We will be debt-free because of Bitcoin.
Now, there are two main ways this kind of policy could be rolled out. The first option would be for the US Treasury Department to issue debt specifically to purchase Bitcoin. The second, perhaps less controversial route would involve the US Treasury converting some of its existing assets into Bitcoin. For example, the US holds a substantial amount of gold in reserve. The Treasury could sell off a portion of that gold in the open market and then use the money it gets from that to buy Bitcoin. So despite what some critics may argue, this idea doesn't necessarily mean the government would need to take on more debt to invest in Bitcoin. But why would the government consider such a move? One of the most compelling reasons lies in something called option value. Okay, here's the situation. The US national debt is ballooning at an unsubstantial rate. To get it under control, the government would have to either raise taxes, cut spending, or do a combination of both, and none of which are particularly popular options right now. But if the debt continues on its current path, a third scenario could unfold: inflation through debt monetization. This happens when the market starts losing confidence in the government's ability to pay off its debt, leading investors to stop buying government bonds. At that point, the Federal Reserve would be forced to step in as a buyer of last resort, purchasing more and more of the debt. This increase in the Fed's balance sheet would in turn drive inflation. But what does this really mean for your pocketbook or mine? I'll get to that in just a moment. Bottom line is that investing in Bitcoin could act as a hedge against that very scenario, offering the government an alternative to traditional financial tools in a time of rising debt and potential inflation. But why Bitcoin? Let's take a step back and look at what it might mean if the US government decided to incorporate Bitcoin into its financial strategy. From an economic point of view, adding Bitcoin to the US Treasury's holdings could do two major things. Number one, it would diversify the country's assets and serve as a hedge against inflation. This could reshape the entire landscape of US monetary policy.
But we will convert excess reserves at our 12 Federal Reserve banks into Bitcoin over 5 years. We have the money now.
And it might even influence how other nations manage their own financial reserves. Here's where it gets really interesting. The US government already holds a significant amount of Bitcoin, about 213,000 Bitcoin specifically, and that's roughly 14 billion in today's market. Most of this Bitcoin was seized through criminal operations, but it's just sitting there. If the government decided to declare Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset, it would tap into this existing stockpile without having to buy any more on the open market. Think about it. It's like having a hidden value of gold just waiting to be put to use. Picture your retirement account growing exponentially, giving you peace of mind and the freedom to live life on your terms. Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis has already floated an ambitious idea. She wants the US government to buy an additional 1 million Bitcoin and hold it for 20 years.
And that's only the beginning. Over 5 years, the United States will assemble 1 million Bitcoin, 5% of the world's supply.
That means the US government controls around 5% of the total Bitcoin supply, given that only 21 million Bitcoin will ever exist. Now imagine the ripple effect. If the US actually did this, it could send shockwaves around the globe. Bitcoin's market cap would skyrocket to at least 100 trillion, and the price per coin would surge to a 4.7 million per coin. It's a staggering possibility, and it wouldn't just affect Bitcoin enthusiasts. It could reshape the entire financial system. Imagine not having to worry about inflation eating away your savings, or watching your investments skyrocket thanks to Bitcoin's mainstream adoption. This could reshape the entire landscape of US monetary policy, and it might even influence how other nations manage their own financial reserves. And clearly, this strategy could also tackle a major challenge facing the US. Let's break this down. The national debt currently stands at around $35 trillion. Now, if our projections hold and Bitcoin skyrockets to 4.7 million per coin, then just 1 million Bitcoin could be enough to clear off a substantial fraction of the US federal government's debt. With debt levels continuing to rise, this move could prove a new way to reduce the liabilities, restore faith in the US dollar, and perhaps even strengthen the government's financial standing. But the implications don't stop there. If Bitcoin were officially recognized as a strategic reserve asset, like I believe it will eventually, it could legitimize the cryptocurrency on a global scale. Investors would see this as a massive vote of confidence, potentially driving even more money into Bitcoin, which in turn would boost its price. And this would set off a chain reaction with other countries scrambling to accumulate Bitcoin, much like they do with gold or oil today. Former President Trump has even warned that opposing Bitcoin could give countries like China or Russia a strategic advantage. Embracing Bitcoin, on the other hand, could position the US as a leader in the digital financial frontier. It's a high-stakes game, and the outcome could really redefine not just the US economy, but the entire global financial system. The question is, if elected as president, Would Trump have the authority to make this happen? Would Trump have the authority to change the financial future of Americans? If Trump were to push for Bitcoin to be declared as a strategic reserve asset, his influence as president would certainly carry weight. But it's not as simple as making a decree. The president doesn't have the unilateral power to make that kind of decision. It would require a lot of moving parts and coordination across various branches of the government. First, Congress would likely need to weigh in, and move to designate Bitcoin as part of the country's official reserves would probably require legislation. That means getting lawmakers on board and debating the potential impact on the economy, national security, and even international relations. Then there's the Fed Reserve and the Treasury Department. Both play pivotal roles in managing the country's monetary policy and financial assets. The Federal Reserve in particular has a big say in how the US manages its reserves and controls inflation. Declaring Bitcoin a strategic asset would mean involving experts from these institutions to study the risks and benefits, ensuring it aligns with broader economic goals. If such a move were to happen, it would mark a major shift in how the government views and handles cryptocurrency. And I honestly see it inevitable. So what does this mean for you? It's not just the government that stands to benefit from such a move. If Bitcoin were to become a strategic reserve asset, the ripple effects could extend to everyday lives of Americans like you and I. For one, anyone who buys a tenth of a Bitcoin, like I discussed in a previous video, they would now hold around $430,000 for retirement. A stronger financial position for the government could lead to lower tax rates. With less pressure on raising funds through taxation, people might see more of their income staying in their pockets, okay? Imagine your paycheck stretching further as the value of the dollar stabilizes and purchasing power increases, okay? Additionally, a healthier economy could mean increased government spending on public services and infrastructure. That means more job opportunities in sectors like construction, transportation, technology, as the government invests in capital projects to modernize roads, bridges, and public spaces. This would not only improve employment rates, but also the quality of infrastructure across the country. In short, a decision like this could create a cycle of economic growth upward, where a stronger financial foundation for the country leads to a better standard of living for its people, with more jobs, improved infrastructure, and a higher quality of life overall. If you've watched until this point, here's a high five from me to you. And if this video has opened your eyes to the future potential of Bitcoin and what it means for your financial security, be sure to grab my free masterclass on navigating the new financial frontier. Don't miss your chance to stay ahead of the curve. Subscribe, hit that bell, ba-ding, and check out that next video right here or here to keep building your financial freedom. And you, baby, yeah, you keep living your life to the fullest, because I will see you on the next video. Peace!